During the early 2000s, a wave of Japanese horror films were remade for American audiences, such as The Grudge and Dark Water. And we can thank the Kickstarter to this movement to the movie I am going to talk about today, The Ring from 2002, the scariest horror movie in my humble opinion. I'm sure most of you know this movie from its most famous scene, but if you don't, I'll give you a quick summary before I explain why I find this movie so terrifying. After hearing an urban legend about a VHS tape that leads to a phone call foretelling of your death in exactly 7 days, Rachel Keller, news reporter, begins to investigate its legitimacy when 4 teenagers die after watching the cryptic VHS tape. She investigates the mystery, leading her to find such tape and watching it. Now, she has 7 days to figure out the mystery before she dies. When I was a wee little boy, I had the unfortunate luck to have stumbled upon this movie at way too young of an age, as my mom would always have horror films in the background. For most people, if you ask them what made this movie terrifying, I'm sure 99% would answer with Samara, the girl that comes out of the TV. But for me, I mean, don't get me wrong, she's scary and nightmare fueled, but even as a kid, there was this one scene that truly gave me nightmares and haunted me for a very long time after, and to this day, I'll never forget, hence this video. At one point in the film, towards the end of the movie, Rachel and her boyfriend find out more about the urban legend, which leads them to this island where Samara lived before she was killed by her mother, who thought she was an evil incarnate, essentially. Rachel meets Samara's father, who, after some exposition, he unalives himself. She finds a room in a barn where the parents would keep her inside. There, they find a clue that leads them to another location where she previously visited, is a cabin in the mountains, and this is where the scene in question arrives. This simple transition between scenes has been ingrained in my head for decades at this point. It's not much, and I know most people that have watched this film probably don't even notice this scene at all, and I understand as it goes by in a second, and all it really is a time lapse of a tree on a hill. To me, I thought this scene is a microcosm of how the entire movie makes me feel, and that's isolation. There's not really much to talk about when it comes to this scene itself, as it's just a solo tree on a hill. The tree is not even set in the middle, it's in the far right, almost out of the frame. We can also see that dusk is approaching as the tree and hill become less visible and they become silhouettes. All this happens within the span of 2 seconds. We can get into the metaphorical meaning of it all. After doing some research, I learned that the tree in this hill grows samaro fruit, which shares the same name of the little girl. Therefore, this tree represents the spirit of the little girl. This revelation makes me appreciate the scene even more, as I see it as an analogy of the relationship that Samara has between the world and herself. For some extra context on this, Samara has uncontrollable supernatural powers that lead to the animals in her farm going mad and just tormenting the mother and father, which leads to the mother killing her, which then leads to her becoming an evil spirit fueled by rage, suffering, and vengeance. This time watching The Ring, it hit me how cruel her life was. Since a young age, she had these powers that no one helped her how to manage, and it got out of control and made her do all these horrible things. But she was young, she could have potentially been molded to be, a decent person. The bleak and grim color grading enhanced this isolation that permeates throughout the entirety of the film. Saturated cool colors and heavy emphasis on the blacks enhance the quiet and suppressed tone. For example, the acting is very low key, as most of the actors rarely shout at each other and speak almost at a whisper at times. In tons of scenes, there's heavy rains that blanket the audio and an ambiance that almost feels comfortable to watch if it wasn't for the suspenseful tension that's always present. Lots of credit goes to the director of the movie, Gore Verbinski, who could have easily put a jump scare here or a loud noise there, to get a cheap scare out of the audience, but instead goes against the grain and focuses on having an underlying uneasiness that is carried from the first scene to the last scene. Every subsequent watch invokes the same feeling of loneliness that I had watching it the first time. I find this such a hard emotion to bring forth, and this movie does this with not only one character on screen, but with 2 characters at a time. Usually when I see 2 characters in a horror movie, I feel kind of safe, as I know nothing really scary is going to happen. A character's by himself, I just feel uneasy. I feel very scared, as I think something bad's going to happen to him. But in this movie, there's actually times where I feel uneasy even when there's 2 characters, such as the beginning scene from this movie that has to be top 5 in terms of having the best beginning sequence. This scene is probably the second most iconic in the movie, which goes to show how iconic this movie is within itself. Sometimes I can't help but think of the Scary Movie ripoff, but I digress. Even though there are 2 characters on scene, you still feel the suspense and creepiness almost instantly. They are separated, but my point stands, as even when they are in one scene together, the movie never lets go of its tension. We learn about the curse and the importance of the phone, the water, the television, and most importantly, we learn about the aftermath of the curse, as one of the girls is killed, leaving her with this look of terror as she has seen a demon. What a great opening and establishment of the necessary elements that are used in the film and lore of the curse. I hope you all enjoyed this video and understand a little more why I think this is the scariest horror movie. If you haven't seen this movie, do yourself a favor and watch it by yourself in a dark room and immerse yourself in the experience that has haunted me ever since I was a young buck. Please like and subscribe. This is Bad Ideas Production. Peace out.